gonna take a couple of minutes for us to hook up to all the platforms.
Oh, good.
Let me just monitor it. So, what part of the world are you in?
I am in Ireland, in the southeast of
Ireland.
Ireland. Yeah.
I
Have you been?
No, I haven't been. Not in this lifetime. I've only been to Mexico and here in the United States. I've been all over the United States, but like almost 40 states I've traveled through over the years. But yeah, I'm gonna have to get Outlander out again. That's my favorite. It's my favorite show. Not that I watch TV much, but
And
I like the language. Huh?
how are you finding being apart from Morgan?
Well, like everything. I mean, it's everything is. That's a good question. And this is a conversation. You're welcome to ask questions. It's not a typical Q&A. I don't know if
Mhm.
you're familiar with the show, but well, I mean, it's the whole gambit, right? I mean, it's the whole spectrum. But I think when it gets right down to it, uh, you know, we've, I guess, let's just say up to 2012 or up to whatever, we've had a certain set of lenses, and all of us, and I think it's time to walk the talk, and
Yeah.
part of bringing in the new Earth, or embodying it, or creating it, or however you want to put it, is to walk the talk, and uh, you know journey through this life with the higher awareness that we have, the expanded awareness that we love to talk about.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
talking about it is one thing, and doing it's another. But you know, it's been the whole range. I mean, it was difficult on the human aspect, but we've had
Quite.
some, we've had some incredible expansion together individually. Um, yeah, I have no complaints. I mean, I have no regrets, no complaints. I know we'll be reunited in the physical. That's just my own truth, and I'm not
Right.
attached to it. But yeah, it's that contraction and expansion that just parallels the individual journey, and of course the collective journey. And everything is being rewritten. I'm not one of those that believes we're returning to the original blueprint. I believe we're
Mhm.
creating the new blueprint,
Yeah.
and we're doing it for ourselves, and for
Yes.
the Earth, and for the solar system, and the galaxy, and the universe, and the multiverse. So uh,
I'm right there
it's
with you. I'm
yeah,
right there. I'm right there with you on that. Absolutely. Yeah.
excellent,
Um, you asked,
excellent.
yeah, I know of Utah. I've watched your show through Kalina mostly,
Oh yeah,
Kalina and William. So yeah, they've been a big part of my kind of journey. You were talking about 2012, and since that it was mine's a little bit, a little bit different, I guess. It's not the typical. I didn't have the whole big awakening in 2012 like a lot of people did. Um, I guess as a child, I was born with that kind of awareness. So okay, what I kind of see and what other people see is, there's a little bit of a different script going on here. And I was, yeah, very very connected, very aware, very in touch with my guides and everything as a child. And then as I kind of grew up along, I just wanted to kind of go into the humanness of it and experience life and
yeah,
kind of just have fun along the way. And I made a conscious choice. At one point, I just said to my guides, I need you to stop. I need you just to give me space. I need
yeah,
you not to talk to me. And I just want to feel normal. That's what I remember. That's what I said, you know, and they did. Boom, just like that. That was it. Cut off completely. And it's the first time that I felt like really disconnected from my soul, disconnected from myself. And that is when everything went like
yeah,
absolute. Just yeah.
yeah,
They were the toughest years, but I guess I really needed to feel what that was like. I needed to feel that disconnect. I took for granted the fact that I had this stream of
mm,
connection and able to hear my guides, able to hear my higher self. And yeah, it didn't work very well the other way around, when I had that cut off. It wasn't very fun. So it was
mm.
2018 actually when I got pulled back by my guides. So it's not that long ago, really. And they asked me, "Right, are you ready? You ready to come back?" And as soon as I said yes, that was it. Boom! Instantly, just everything shifted. Everything started to change. I was kind of catching up along with, like, everybody else had this like nice kind of trajectory where they were going smoothly along and they're
I
starting to
don't
kind
think
of like get
so.
this number. Me, it was just boom. All of a sudden, literally overnight, it was just all this mad channeling started happening. I was like writing codes and light language in my head, and I didn't have any idea what it was, where it came from, until I heard Kalina speak on YouTube.
Mm.
I went, oh, that's it. She's doing it. And yeah, I met her in Holland, herself and William then.
Oh,
Um,
right.
the first time they kind of had come together, and I was there for Sisters of the Rose event. And that was really the catalyst that kind of just helped bring back, yeah, all the memories and the awareness. And since
Yeah.
then, it's just been just a beautiful journey of remembering.
Well, the story that you tell is the same story most of the people tell here, and I just say 2012 because that was kind of the number that was put out there, the year that was put out there.
Mm,
But there's people that have been on the show that woke in the 60s,
yeah,
70s, 80s, 90s, and then there's been some powerful souls come on the show that at first was quite amazing. I woke up in 2017. I was literally asleep my whole life. Most people say I had it when I was young. I
yeah,
went to sleep, and then I think that like the linear really doesn't have there's really no differences to when it happens. I mean, if you're looking
no,
at people now that are waking up and that are basically assimilating and expanding to a certain level of awareness that might have taken some people 10 or 20 years because the
yeah,
collective energy just wasn't what it was. But
yeah,
I think the other thing is that I really like your story because, you made the decision to be a human. And
yeah,
so many people that have come on here like, oh, I just wanted to be normal. And of course, when we
yeah.
be careful what you ask for, and then what happens is you find out to the extreme what being human is, and then you come back into the game. And
That's
I
it.
think and I think what's happening now is uh, I really like like the flow of your story. So you wake up, you
Yeah,
go into the human experience, the human condition, you really feel it, and
yeah,
then you come back up, and all your gifts, abilities, higher sensitivities come in, and yet we're being kind of herded back into the embodiment and being human with
yeah,
all of that, which is which
yeah,
is interesting because to me, everything is, blessings can be burdens and burdens can be blessings. And so to me, the traumas that we experienced, diving into the human condition, have as much code, if not more, than those things that provide the
absolutely.
code from our multidimensionality. And we can't
Absolutely,
get
Todd.
stuck. Yeah, you know what
Absolutely.
I mean? We can't get
Yeah. Oh
stuck
my
on
gosh.
either
Yeah.
one of them.
I'm
So,
so I'm so with you on that because it's difficult as a person who one day they're, just getting on with it, when they make the decision, yeah, I actually just want to go back to sleep again because that was a conscious decision I did, and I had been 2003, 2004. I had, got into the energy healing and all of that. But I was young. I was like in my 20s. I didn't really, on one level, there was a part of me that really got it, and another part of me that was just craving just to be normal. And I guess before I came on here, I was asking, my guides, how can I assist? How can I help or with anybody maybe who's newly awakened here? And it's just remember part of this game is to really master the human part of it. Because when I came in and rewoke again, all of the multidimensional aspect was so distracting for me,
yeah,
and all the awareness of where I was and being able to tune in different places. And I lost track of the actual humanness.
yeah,
And I was like all the time escaping in the angelic realm, wanting to meditate, wanting to be out of my body, trying to do absolutely everything, to raise my frequency and just go. And it was only until Mary Magdalene came to me on her feast day back in 2019, and she told me, that we would work together, and it was her, and through her guidance of literally reminding me, no, Emer, come back down. You need
yeah,
to be, you need to be the rainbow bridge, and being the rainbow bridge means understanding that you only go as high as you can anchor low. So we're going to bring you back right back down now.
yeah,
And I think as a humanity, especially now at the moment, so many people are waking up with all these traumas of all of these like lower chakra wounds that they they find tricky to address, or perhaps they don't want to go there because there's just so much pain and trauma associated with feeling safe and feeling human or feeling normal, especially if they have, if they kind of align with being a starseed and have never really felt at home on the planet.
Mm,
The root chakra, of course, is have all of this, like, I'm not safe to be here. And she really brought me back into my body. And it was, from word go, you're not meditating anymore. I want you to feel. I want you
mm,
to actually feel your body. I want you to move your body. So that took me completely into this whole reconnection with my womb, reconnection with the heart. And that's been my journey for the last 2 years, really, really deepening that connection. And as I do that, I find that I don't reach out anymore. It's all going in. Like anytime I'm working with anybody or with clients or at all, it's all straight back in. And then I find them within my own system. It's like I just merge with them and I find them inside. And then I expand out from here. So opening the womb, opening the heart, opening the mind, and just bringing in that, the triple flame. But just understanding that the universe and absolutely everything is within ourselves. And to
absolutely.
access anything that we need to access, it's pull right back in. So it's a little bit
Absolutely.
counterintuitive for some people, I guess, but that's the more I'm kind of working and understanding and I guess learning
Well,
as I go.
well, I mean, really, this is what it's all about to me. And this is why I love doing this show, 3,200 episodes. I love doing this show because
Whoa.
over time I realized that the highest downloads, transmissions, channelings, activations come from conversations with people just being real. And I don't mean that to slight anybody or say that we're not being real, because we've all had masks. We've all been through the same thing. We've all had the same level of pain, proportionate to our life experience.
Yeah, it is.
But I think it's, what you're saying, what's coming out for me, which is I always like to have these takeaways when I feel like I'm in a session and I'm a client when I do these shows. But the thing is everybody has some clair, they have some intuition, they have some telepathy, they have some level of experience. And the worst thing we can do, of course, is to compare ourselves to other people. Oh wow, she can do that or he can do that, I
Yeah,
can't do that. We all have it.
absolutely.
And
Hmm.
but when we do have it, we do go through, I think, this period of, whether, I don't care who we are, because nobody's walking on water, where we still have an active ego. We always will. It's the flip side of the soul. It's the great equalizer. And so we overattach to it. Then we start to, get the lessons and the
Yeah,
humility, and we start to, like you're describing, you can't leave the human behind. And so for me, if I look at, you can't divorce yourself from any aspect of the universe. So if you have these channelings and you have these connections, we're like, wow, this is who I am. This is who I am. And then the universe is like, okay, like they told you, don't forget the human. So
yeah,
now when I look at it, I go, okay, these triggers that come in the form of people or events or whatever that may be, these projections that come out of me or come towards me, these are as golden, if not more golden, than
yeah,
these other things that are out here, because we had these things
yeah,
before we came in here. We did not have this
yeah,
human
yeah.
experience.
This is it.
So
Yeah.
so when I hear you say that, I think that's really what it gets down to. You said, I take everything into myself. And I think, as we go further down the road, each day we're learning to appreciate and love and honor and respect and revere these interactions that we have that make us uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I think as time goes on, that's where the real unity is going to come from, when we say, hey, I don't particularly like that person, but I unconditionally love them. And I really appreciate that they're triggering me, or that
Oh
I
my gosh.
project,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And where's the golden
Oh,
line?
yeah.
Because you can't just say that. You have to
No,
really
no. Yeah.
embody that. And
You're speaking my language, and I really had that. I had that even moment today. Just out and about, and I do tend to spend a lot of time in nature. I'm very blessed at the moment because I spent almost 20 years as a primary school teacher
mm,
throughout all of this. So kids for me, it's very important, and I always have that in my background that I need to assist in some way when I'm guided in that way, and I will be. But now I'm on it. I finished. I've left, and I can. This is my work now, and part of my work for me is it may be just going on a walk and sitting and just being still. Because that's when the clarity comes for me, and that's when I start to work on, like, the like alchemizing these emotions and what like the humanness that starts to come up. And whoever it is that I come across now, I'm starting to really see that in them. I'm starting to see, wow, yeah, maybe you've done something that really I really don't like,
Hmm.
but it's like this pure heart expansion then of going, thank you, because this is one step closer to actually seeing myself in you and you seeing yourself in me, and understanding that, and then opening up that compassion and just, you know, feeling where they are in their journey, because everyone they're all having their experience, and each person's experience is just as equal to the next. We
Hmm.
all need each other. We're cells, we're units. We all need each other, and we need each other to evolve. And I guess, I was blessed because I did have the kids to work with and to
Yeah.
kind of mirror for me. And like, there are no better mirrors. They show you right as it is. And the evolution of what I've seen in 20 years in the kids, like Todd, is just, it's incredible.
Really.
How they've changed. Yeah. Oh
That's
yeah.
that's fascinating, because that frequency is the frequency to me. That innocence. I mean, it is, and really talking to people over the last couple of years that work with children. We've had some children on different ages, teenagers, 9-year-old.
I've seen a
We've had
few. Yeah.
parents come on that talked about even kids that were younger than that. But they're just, it's a lot. The kids are a lot like nature, because I'm
Yes.
like you. I'm lucky to have this little forest back here, and it's covered in snow right now, which is really cool. And
Wow.
but like when you go out there, and I've always, my first guides, or whatever you want to call it, were trees, and they still are. They're my main line. And
Oh,
but
that's
when you
so
go out into
cool.
the, like when you go out into the forest, or you just sit in nature, there's not always an audible conversation here. It's just this space between, right? And
Yeah.
kids are
Yeah.
like that. Kids don't have to say anything. You just get around their energy, and it just come, you align with it like a tuning
Yeah.
fork,
Yeah.
unless you're really shut
Absolutely.
down. But I mean, it's hard to be shut down to children. It really is.
And it's
So,
so infectious. It's so infectious. It's
yeah.
just, it is. It's incredible.
Mm.
Um, and I do miss that. I really do. Every now and again, I'll go in just to pop in. Sometimes I'll work a day or two just to kind of be in their space.
Mm.
But it was lovely because bit by bit, like I have so many dreams, and it's about like anchoring them and just allowing them to kind of flow and expand. But one of them really is to work with kids and just help them to understand that it's okay to feel, that it's okay
Yeah.
to feel. And I think as a society, or all over, we're so used to becoming numb, and we've become so, it's so normal just to numb out and not to feel. And in working even last week with some of the kids, just helping them to kind of understand their emotions in the way that, that it is moving through you, but you know what, you're safe to feel it.
Yeah.
And like this one little girl looked at me, and a little tear came out of her eye. She was like 11, and she'd never met me before, and she just kind of like, the soul kind of connection looked into me, and she just cried, and she's like, how do you know how I feel? Teacher, how do you know? No one's ever seen me before. How do you know how I feel?
How old was she?
11.
Wow.
11, she had some learning disabilities, and it was almost like, she's just kind of left on the side, and, not really cared for, I guess, not really seen, I guess,
Yeah.
as she could have been. And I just told her, you know what? Sometimes adults, they don't really know how to feel either. They haven't learned. Nobody taught them. Like their parents didn't teach them. The grandparents, it's been passed down. I said, but you're getting this gift today that you can actually say, like, tell yourself that you're safe to feel.
Yeah.
And you can use your breath. You can use your breath to work with you, like, to help you to clear it out, and using your visualization, just teaching her one or two little things. And she had this moment where she turned around to me, and another little tear out the side of the eye. And she said, it's not their fault, is it? Like, the adults, it's not their fault. And I said, no, darling, it's not. It's just the way we've learned. But the best thing is that you guys are here to help us remember that,
Yeah.
there's another way.
Yeah.
And it's those little moments that just kind of like, just open up the heart, and just, make way for, the change. And change is coming, and it's coming quicker and quicker and quicker.
Yeah. Let go or be dragged.
That's it. That's it. And like, if you tell your guys, I need a break, they will hear you and they
They
will honor
will.
that. But you know
Yeah.
what?
They,
your higher self, and this is the thing I just like to say to anybody who maybe is kind of newly awakened, or this is new to you, or um, you're kind of you're going through all these emotions and you're just kind of trying to find your feet with it. There's no right or wrong in this.
Mm-mm.
There's really not. It's just
Mm-mm.
about honoring everything, and just being the observer of it and making all of it okay. There's no right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're all going to get there. We all do get there, but we all have our own unique way in getting there. And please don't compare yourself to anybody. Just, you know, set the intention that you're going to fall back in love again with yourself and fall
Yeah.
back in love again with your connection to the earth. Because that was the one thing that Mary Magdalene did teach me. She was like, you know, your root chakra, Emer, it's not going to anchor until you remember gratitude for being here.
Yeah.
And that was the game changer for me. Because
Yeah.
before I was like, I know I'm here. I know I've got to do a job. I just know because I always had these knowings. I know I've got stuff to do, but I want to do it and get home. And that was always since I was young. That was kind of my drill. And I was like, no, I'm going to do this and go. And she brought me right back in and just stopped and said, no, you're missing the point. She
Yeah.
said it's actually all about the experience and loving, this connection with like Gaia and how beautiful, it is here. And that's been something that's really helped me, and just getting out in nature and
Yeah.
making time for yourself to do that. That's going to awaken the heart quicker than anything else will, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I wrote a piece the other day, and the first line was this. Well, I don't remember the first line, but the first or second line was, "I'm tired of ascension being a chore." It's
Yeah.
not a chore. Being a human
No.
is not a chore. And then you bring up a really great frequency in your story because I remember being a kid, and I
Mhm.
remember having struggling. I bet everybody here can relate to this. You were talking about the emotions and the feelings of
Yeah.
a child, and how many times were we emotional, regardless of what type of emotion, anger, sadness, whatever, and we were sent to our room and the
Yeah.
door was closed and you were in
Mhm.
that space that you didn't understand, and it was so scary, right?
Yeah.
It was scary to me. And I have a kind of a personal technique when I get in certain stages, and what I'll do is I'll go back to an event, like
Mhm.
how I felt when this occurred. And sometimes
Yeah.
they're multidimensional experiences, and sometimes they're human experiences. Just
Mhm.
trying to anchor back to that moment and feel it, not to relive
And
the
bring it
past,
in,
but
bring it
just
up
to
again.
feel it.
Yeah.
But hang on, wait a minute, having a malfunction.
That's okay.
There it
And
goes. There it goes.
what you're speaking
But
of, Todd, it's
but
so
but what I was
important actually.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is the other day I had a lucid dream, and I wrote about it. And I'm not going to go into the whole thing because I talked about it before and I wrote about it. But it was crazy because in the lucid dream, the bottom line of the lucid dream is that I had my feminine and my masculine in front of me, and they came
Mhm.
into my heart, and they were
Mhm.
toddlers. And I had
Yeah.
never thought about pulling up my masculine or my feminine. They always come up as adults or icons, or you know what I mean. But these were
Mhm.
children,
Yeah.
and they just like and it was such a real thing because I actually had the experience after I was technically awake. I had the dream, and then I woke up, and I pulled them. I pulled the energy up, and I went, uh, "Okay, what do you want to tell me?" And they didn't say a word. They just put their heads on my chest, and
Oh,
there
wow.
and the message came through. And at that time, I didn't realize what was happening. And the message was nonverbal, and I just felt the communication or the message, and my heart just exploded,
Yeah.
and they came instead of
Ooh, I'm
being
feeling
in
it.
front of me. They actually, when they presented themselves, once I woke up, they popped out of my heart and like looking at me. But I thought to myself, well, there it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there it is. And then just to kind of conclude that, somebody came on here the other day, and rightfully so. People say, hey, we got to take care of the children. We got to take care of the children. Sex trafficking, this and that. And we understand. This is understood. But I said to myself, and I didn't say it on the show, but we're all children. We're all children. Every one of
Yeah.
us is a child,
Yeah.
and that's it. That's the closest we can be, I think, in this incarnation, in our memory, to the purity that we actually are, because we have obviously haven't been conditioned, and we haven't gone through life, and we haven't had that conversation of, hey, turn it off and turn it back on, you know. But yeah, I think that says a lot, when people think of the child, uh, as opposed to it being, hey, we need to go save. Not that we don't need to do what we need to do, but just to really align with the frequency of the child that you are.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, we've heard this countless times, isn't it? You know, you find it within you, you do your work within you, and you send that out to the field. And
Mm,
I really do feel that, you know, because I guess it was really overwhelming for me when I like reawoke and, you know, everything was coming at me fast and hard. And it was, you know, I was tuned into so many different places and I didn't have any anchor. And I kind of thought, oh my gosh, you know, oh, here's the fairy realm, or here's the angelic realm, or here's the dragons, or, you know, here's Arcturus, you know, and it was all kind of coming in. And I was like, where do I fit in? You know, because, you know, I'm just this person and I'm getting all of these experiences and I don't know where to start.
mm,
That was kind of it. And you know, my advice for anybody who is kind of feeling a little bit overwhelmed is go right back into you,
mm,
work it within you, work it within your system. Have a little chat with your child, your inner child. You know, sit down. It's never too late to to go back and revisit you know old feelings because at the end of the day, whatever has happened to you on a multidimensional level in a past life when you were a child, if it's an unresolved trauma, it's going to pop back into your reality in this now moment at some point anyway.
mm,
So I think, you know, a big lesson for me as well, you know, I used to get attached to a lot of the stories behind it because I was searching for all this meaning and I really wanted to understand. And I was in my head way too much trying to kind of just grasp onto some kind of understanding. And I've just kind of let it all go now and kind of come back to the conclusion of whatever has happened to you, it's going to be resolved now.
mm,
And your higher self will bring, the universe will bring that opportunity for you to see it. So the best thing you can do for yourself is literally try and stay as present as you can. Be that observer, but be that observer with compassion. And I guess we talked about the lower chakras earlier on, but you know, this guilt on like, you know, this
mm,
just and all of these things and what has happened before, you know, it's like for me, it's like handcuffs just keeping us entangled with, you know, and are sending our energy like back to something that's already occurred. Where it's just like, can we let that go? Can we just kind of have compassion for ourselves for our human journey? Because it's not easy, you know, it can be, you know, there can be a lot of joy and it can be like a lot of fun. Um, but it can be tricky. And
mm.
it's just, you know, open your heart to that and just give yourself a break,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I think it's the unconventional or the atypical. You know, we have energy sessions. You're a practitioner, I think, and you know, like you have different modalities and
Mhm.
processes. And I wasn't going to tell anybody this, but so I live in a duplex, a
Yeah.
really unique kind of situation. I don't have a neighbor. Her and her children moved out. We got a new landlord, and so they decided to move out. So I pulled up one night and I saw that they had, you know, I knew they had left because we said goodbye to each other, but they had some stuff on their front porch. And I thought, well, I'll just go see what's going on. And I saw this bag of charcoal, and I thought, well, I got a fire pit, you know, I'll take the charcoal and
Mhm.
use that. You know, no sense of going to waste. I'm not stealing anything. And then I saw this bucket, this plastic bucket of that sidewalk chalk. You know,
Yeah. Oh,
now
yeah.
I just turned 60 years old last month, and
I'm going to
I'm
tell I
like,
can get to play to the Todd.
yeah. So I thought, and this is what happened was I looked at it. I thought, oh, that's a shame, you know. And I don't really have any kids visit me. And I thought, and then I thought, well, why don't you get it? Why don't you draw something? And
Hmm.
I don't know how it came in, but then I realized, just like when you said going sitting in nature, like
Yeah.
I guess it was my higher self, my soul saying to me, why don't you pick up the chalk and why don't you entertain the idea of just drawing something on the sidewalk
Be
one sunny
great.
day?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With
Wake
no
up that
intention,
creativity.
right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With no intention of healing trauma, just because I'm a big believer that for me anyway, and I know everybody's not built the same, it
Mhm.
seems like we're on the defense a lot. You know, we do the shadow work, we do the zero pointing, and that's not a defensive position. That's a initiate you know, initiative being taken. I get
Yeah,
that, but I
absolutely.
think sometimes we can blow the shadow right out with illumination, and illumination being just whatever that frequency, whatever it is that takes you to the frequency closer to that frequency of this childlike wonder, you know, so anyway, I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to do it.
You haven't done with the chalk,
I had the chalk. I got the
but you haven't
chalk.
gone out to play.
No. But I will. I will.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. You know,
I
go
got a
make room
private
for a little playtime.
back driveway here. Nobody will see me. Not that I care, but it's yeah.
Yeah,
It'll be
absolutely.
yeah.
But aren't these the simple little things? Like that's it. I mean, it's not the complicated things
No.
anymore. For me, anyway, personally, it's literally how can I find more joy in the smaller moments with my
Yeah.
family, with my own kids, with
Yeah.
before I was trying to just look for it everywhere else because I just wanted it all to make sense.
Yeah.
And now it's like really coming all the way back in. It's like actually it's really about as much joy as you can find in the simple, tiny little things, the tiniest little things, and working with your own kids or whoever is working with you, just to if something comes up, just to honor it in that moment, but don't go looking for it. I'm
Yeah.
not a really big believer in right. Okay, let's tick the which emotion are we going to work on today now? Let's like tick the
Hmm.
books and go find it. You don't need to look for anything. It's going to come to you if it needs to, but all
Yeah.
in like, in the flow of it. Just
Right.
surrender to it. Your higher self is not going to send you wrong.
Yeah. It's like having a internal serial client type of mentality. Like let me fix this. Let me check. Like you said, check. But if you look at, I've always had this like, uh, I don't know how to say it, but like an understanding, but not quite able to verbalize it, which is the childlike wonder thing. And anyone that knows me knows, even to the point of aggravation, I can be a kid, just joking around all the time and not be serious. But I would rather fall on that side than get overly serious. But what I'm saying is, if you look at the rhythms, and if I have 6 children, you have children, you work with children. If you look at the rhythms of a child and you apply that to your navigational system, right? What do? They just move with like discernment. Like picture a kid walking into a room full of toys. They don't hate any toys. They just like what they like. And that's the
Yeah.
universe. The universe
Mhm.
is, I accept this whole room of toys. I'm honored to be in here and I'm grateful. I'm going to pick the ones I like to play with. Those are our frequencies we like to play in. So, and the other thing about children is they don't tell you what you need to do. They don't tell you what you have to do. They don't tell you how to do something. They just present this rhythm, this combination of frequencies as they're picking it up like a cosmic vacuum cleaner, and expanding their vibration. And if they can be unimpeded, and they can, and like you said, be okay with themselves, it
Yeah.
just illuminates them more. And so
Mm.
I think there's a tremendous amount of wisdom to be found in the frequency field that they provide. And what I was saying is, I always have had this understanding, and part of this I was told 10 years ago when I woke up, was that at some point the children are going to take over and lead the way.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I've had that message since I was a child. Mother Mary would come to me, and my family are Catholic, but we weren't religious at all.
mm,
But I would walk around with this like glow in the dark statue of Mother Mary. I would bring her with me everywhere. I just had this connection with her, and my parents didn't understand it at all. But I was afraid of the dark, and this glow in the dark little Mother Mary statue came with me everywhere. But even as a child, she would tell me, Emer, remember the children,
mm,
remember the children. And the whole way up, every single, like at every point throughout my life, she'll come in and just remember the children. So I had different understandings, and as I kind of moved along, well, what does she mean? What does she want me to do? And I've just completely surrendered because whatever way I need to be guided, I'll be guided, and
right.
whatever needs to happen is going to happen. So it's like coming on here with you. I saw this a year ago, and I remember talking to Morgan, and she suggested I reach out to you, and I said, no, it's not time. I'll hear when it is.
Mm,
And then last week, sitting down out of nowhere, I was sitting in my room, and they said, now you got to reach out. And for me, the way I work is when I get an idea, it's like comes in as inspiration, as air, right? I kind of let it sit in the water for a little while, and I kind of let it marinate there before I actually take that fire and do the action and reach out. So I said, yeah, cool. I'll think about it. I'll let it sit. The next day, my higher self came in, boom, now. And I went, oh, okay. So reached out, and that's how it came. But I guess where I'm going with this is your higher self or your guidance. If it's something needs to be done in that timing, it will tell you exactly when it needs to be. If we're
Yeah.
just able to get out of our own heads and
Yeah.
get out of our own way and just completely surrender and say, it's got my back. The universe has my back.
Yeah. That's a really great commentary there, because I think, because everyone that I know, I mean, everyone that I've run into, even the most put together people, and I don't want to name names, but we would know some of these people. I mean, people that are
Hmm.
really kind of anchored in neutrality, that
Yeah.
serve, and but every time I get into a conversation with them and I say, well, hey, do you still get triggered? Because if I look at someone like you, I'm, I'm like, yeah, you know what I mean? I mean, but the point is, we always have those episodes of, did that just happen? Am I just making this up? Am I crazy? You
Yeah.
know? And I
Hmm.
think part of, because people talk about discernment, I think a big part of discernment is being able to get to that place, which involves confidence in the intuition and telepathy,
Hmm.
which involves humility, because
Humility,
that's a big dose to the ego.
huge
So
one.
you're in that space where you're trying to be humble, this side of arrogant, this side of confidence. So
Yeah.
there's this space where they both live together, where the human is present, the higher self is present, and it's not one or the other, it's in tandem together. I'm a big
Yeah. It's a process. Yeah.
fan of the human. I absolutely feel like that there's something very special, like we're coming out, in some way. And then also because of the range of polarity that we're involved with in our field of potential and consciousness, and therefore creation, is a very, we're the boots on the ground. And I
Yeah.
tell my guides, or the consciousnesses that I work with, all the time, and I've said it many times, I'm going to have a say here. I'm going to have a say here to the best of my abilities. No, I'm not privy to what you are, but I am privy to the human experience. And I'll just conclude it with this: we have a friend, Alicia Brachet, in Australia, and she came on, and it was very profound, because she was kind of coming out with her story, or part of her story, which had to do with energetic pregnancies and communications with galactics, and I mean, in other types of consciousnesses. And that's a pretty complex
Hmm.
uh, thing if you like just look at it from a general fashion. But she explained it very well. But one of the things that really stayed with me, and I think will stay with me forever, that kind of validated my own feelings, was she gets a visit by a mantid. Now she's going through, like we've all gone through in our own, because we get opened up, and then we're like trying to be human, and we have those moments of those mini extreme, maybe 2 hour long dark nights of the soul, but the energy, you feel it, the impact, you feel it. And so then you're in that space of, oh my God, where am I here? What's the point? And all that. Well, the mantid comes in and says, look, I just want you to know, we got you.
Yeah.
Everything's cool. And she said to him, which I think is one of the most profound things I've ever heard. She said to him, well, what about my emotional quotient?
Mhm.
What about my emotional health? And he said, well, we didn't figure that in. And she said something like, well, you better. So this is the human,
Yeah.
stepping into its power to be an equal citizen, per se, of the universal family. And I think it's not always just about how we stay in our power when we interact with each other, but also with the entirety of the universal, because we are equal to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the more I'm starting to, fall in love with Gaia and fall in love with this, being here, and the more I open and surrender to that, the more I'm realizing, as I'm going on my walks, whereas I wouldn't have really seen as much in the forests, I would have seen more in the kind of galactic and the angelic realm. I would have seen more
Yeah.
there. I wouldn't have seen as much down here because I wasn't allowing myself to anchor. But now when I'm starting to go on my walks, like I'm noticing the trees, and it's like they're there, and then everything just turns white, and it's like they completely vanish. Like, and
Really?
it's happening with with different things. It's happening with trees. It's happening with people. Sometimes, if I'm sitting talking to somebody, it's like their whole face goes white,
Really?
and then
Wow.
it goes black, and then it merges out. Like it's got like their face is gone. It's like, no, sorry, their aura just goes really, really white,
Mm.
and then like their face just starts kind of like, it's like shape shifting and blending, and then it all goes white, and then it's like they turn black. It's like they disappear, and it really kind of, I don't know, it kind of rings home as like we are projected here, even though this is like, it feels so real. And I don't even want to, go
That's
there because we're
really,
being human, but this is real too, because I
yeah,
am having this human experience,
yeah.
but I'm like, you've just vanished. Your face is just literally gone. Like, where are you gone? It's a lot to get the head around. So I think
That's
that's why it's so important to
yeah,
stay in
but
the body.
that makes a lot of sense to me.
Really?
More, yeah, oh yeah, and I'll tell you why. This is a great takeaway for me today. But a few years ago, Morgan and I, we were in bed, and we got a call. So we were told to kneel in front of each other and just hold hands.
Yeah.
And then what happened was very similar. Everything from like the chest up, and we weren't telling each other this. We didn't tell each other till the next day. It did what you're talking about, and it
Mhm.
ended up just being like black, like the
Black.
cosmos, like you were
Yeah, yeah,
looking
yeah.
into space.
Yes.
And so, but now that you're saying this, I'm thinking, because to me, the gods, goddesses that we are, it's almost like the cosmic joke. Like we're chasing our tail the whole time. So, what would be more appropriate, more, uh, that paradoxical truth that we chased our tail and we found it. So when you look at someone else and you look through the veil, it ends
Yeah.
up being the abyss all over again, right?
That's it. That is
Yeah,
basically it. Like the first time
yeah.
it happened to me, I was sitting with a friend and we were, sitting at this tree, and it was like this really beautiful place with the ley lines, it was just beautiful, really powerful. And we were sitting having a conversation. And the first thing I saw was like the white came in. And
Mm,
then I was looking going, and I thought she was like astral traveling or something. And I was like, where have you gone? And she's like, I'm here. And I was like, no, no, what's going on? And then I felt very calm, like very still, very centered. But yeah, that like it all went white, and then she went black, and I could see through her face, and I could see the brick wall of the church that was behind us because we were sitting in
wow.
the grounds of an old church. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I stayed there for probably the guts of an hour, and she would go and come back, and then go and come
Wow, that's
back.
far
And
out.
I
That's
went,
far
okay,
out.
I'm just, what's going on here? And these are the moments when you kind of do start to question your sanity, because you made a point earlier on, and you were saying, oh, people who are doing this work or whatever,
Mm,
maybe they all have it all figured out. We don't. We
mm,
go through the emotions and waves and layers, and it just keeps on going round in the spiral. We think we've got something figured out, and then it just goes boom, another layer to it. And
yeah.
like in that moment, I sat there going, yeah, I'm completely lost it. Like, I can see through her face. The rest of her body's
Mm,
there, but I can see the brick wall behind her. So it's about like, okay, it is a bit of a cosmic joke because at the end of the day, she was gone. There was
right,
no, it's like
right.
black.
That's amazing. I've never, other than that experience, I don't think I've ever had that happen. Maybe it's happened. Well, it has happened. Like if we were laying in bed and connecting, or if I was by myself, and the ceiling disappears and the walls disappear, and you're in that
Yeah, yeah,
abyss
yeah.
of this. But
Mhm.
I have seen, like with the trees, they don't disappear, but what'll happen
Yeah.
is almost like an aura or an auric field, like you were talking about the
Mhm.
waves.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
I look, if I, and I can't do it all the time, but if I really connect with a tree and start to actually have a telepathic kind of thing happening, which is word, not human words,
Yeah.
then it's like I can see through the tree. I
Yes.
guess it's something like translucent, but it's not. I can't really explain it, but I can
I I
see.
ac I
Yeah,
get it exactly what
yeah,
you're
yeah,
saying. Yeah, you can see through it all. It's there. The outline is there, but it's not see through. But you can see almost see through it.
right,
And
right,
for me, kind of it kind of waves a little bit sometimes, and then
right.
it comes back really clear. But yeah,
See,
just
these are
the
the
interesting
things.
experiences you have when you're going for a walk.
Well, and this is it to me because I've spent 10 years plus doing this. Probably what year is it? 8 years.
2022.
Yeah, 8 years doing lives and videos. So I study I've always had a routine of studying different podcasts and, for topics and really for the nuances and the energy. It's not so much
Mhm.
the content. And I've always, and of course I went through the whole thing of like, wow, these people got 1 million views, and that doesn't mean
Mhm.
anything to me anymore. I learned that a long time ago, actually, from Mother Mary and years ago.
Mm.
And so, but what I'm getting at is I always look at what works, like what feels right.
Yeah.
And if you look at the topical part of it, what's the topic? What's the theme? Where do you find people talking in mass about what you're talking about, or about the fairy kingdom, or about, just the different topics that you find on platforms like this? And what you don't, you find it on the ones under the radar typically, unless they're like a clickbait type of a platform. But
Mhm.
the value is where, like you said with Kalina,
Yeah.
it's where you look at someone who's a mirror of you and you go, "Hey, I'm not crazy.
Oh my
I
gosh, I'll
I
never forget
understand
that.
what they're saying." And
I'll
and
never
then what,
forget that moment for,
right?
oh my
I
gosh,
mean,
yeah.
and I've had so many people make comments and send me messages. Still to this day, I'll get at least 4 or 5 a week, and they'll say, "Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Morgan. Thank you, Solji.
Yeah.
I thought I was crazy. You're my
Yeah.
lifeline. I've been watching you for 3 years. I don't know who this person is." And they're like, I just tune in because you're not weird. Weird is the norm,
It's
right?
okay. Yeah, and it's okay. And for a lot of people, they don't have anywhere to go. And
Mm,
when they have these experiences, not everybody's lucky enough to have somebody to share it with.
mm,
I'm really blessed now because I do have like a lot of sisters and a connection. And you know, thankfully now, I've got the brothers starting to come in as well, which is really exciting for me. Um, but yeah, I have people where I can just be me and I can
yeah,
just, share these kind of things and not have the fear of judgment. But we work through that fear of judgment because it's really ingrained in us. And
absolutely.
the first time when the light language started happening, and then the very first time I had to speak publicly or anything, it was really really painful for me. Like I had a really big process to try and work through that. But we do get through it, and we get through it at our own pace. And then it's like your hair growing. All of a sudden, you wake up one day and you're like, whoa, that fear is not there anymore. It's just, I
Yeah,
don't have it anymore.
yeah,
But it's about really being kind with yourself in the journey.
yeah. And then having the initiative to, in whatever way it occurs, because it doesn't have to be in front of a camera, but like to express yourself, to step across the line that you never stepped across, and then you do it again and you do it again, and it becomes easier. And I watch people do this over the years in Soulogy. They'll get motivated and inspired by this show, or somebody else doing a video, and they'll
Yeah.
jump out there and do it. And
Yeah.
they're like a kid in the candy store. And it's really cool. And you mentioned too about, well, you just mentioned something I thought was really interesting. I like to kind of follow this up.
Sure.
So you talked about, and this I think is very common because obviously, 70, 80% of these communities and platforms are made up of females, which
Yeah.
is, which makes sense. We know this. We know
Yeah.
we don't have to get into the story, but so like in your own evolution, you have all these sisters, and then
Yeah.
you made the comment that you're starting to have some brothers step up that you're
Yeah.
comfortable with, that are entering that space that you
They're
share with
just
your
coming.
sisters.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you also mentioned how judgmental we can be, right? And how it's ingrained in us. So one of
Mhm.
the things I feel that's really kind of been, out there for a while, it's provided so much triggering and projection and unity and alignment and expansion and so on, is the male, female, masculine, feminine thing. And so there's been a lot of talk about that. And I feel like that it is, a lot of times your greatest weakness is your greatest strength,
Yeah.
which is how this realm is set up. And like you
Mhm.
said early in the show, how I think Mother Mary told you, you can only go as high up in degrees as you've gone below in degrees.
Yeah.
So my question to you is just, what's your experience? Where are we at? What are you picking up? Because I know you're sensitive. And then through your own human experience, like, how is the relationship between, and I want to make this clear, the energetics of masculine and feminine, which does which does show itself to not 100%, but to a great degree, say majority, in the gender incarnation. But where do you think we stand based on your own experience and, as you said, starting to have some men enter this space where you and your sisters have
Yeah.
been?
I feel, to be honest, for the last kind of 2 years as I've been kind of into this space, I've been very much, I feel like what you're going through in your own process, you'll see mirrored outside of you. Okay.
Right.
So when I was going into my own process, of course, I didn't like being with other girls as a child. I never liked being, I would always go and hang out with the boys because I would feel, the jealousy, or I'd feel the judgment, or I'd feel that, the betrayal. I just felt it all. And I just was never comfortable being around other girls. So part of coming back into, I suppose, with this awakening and learning to kind of, master yourself, one of my big things was I have to open up to girls again.
Mm.
I've got, this is the next step. This is what I need to do. And it was so scary for me going into women's circles and being around other women's, because I would feel it, and I would feel, the fakeness a lot of the times
Mm.
when people would be all smiles, and I'm like, yeah, but that's not the energy behind that smile. And I would feel the judgment a lot at the time. But of course, they were mirroring for me where I was holding that
Yes.
and where I was holding those wounds. So I would learn to sit with it, and I would learn to kind of go in, and I would learn to. The way I work is I always um, I just, whatever's coming through, I just say, okay, it's okay. This is, I'm feeling this. It's not, I'm not this emotion. I'm feeling it, and I connect in with my heart, and then I just connect in with my breath, and I visualize it like white light just kind of coming into me, and wherever I'm feeling that tension, I just say, I transform you with love, and that's just a really simple technique, but this is what I do and how I work. And the more I'm sitting there, the more I've been around women, and I've started to kind of really heal that sister wound, and really now have such an incredible love and fascination for women and respect for that, because I'm healing that within myself. Now I'm radiating that, and now the men are starting to come.
That was a great explanation. I just want to point out for about 90% of that explanation, we had 111 people in the house.
Oh wow!
So, but no, I think that's a great
No idea, because I
explanation.
can't see anything. I can just see you. So I didn't. Yeah.
So,
Oh, hi everybody.
yeah, the number just hit 111. It stayed right there as you were talking.
Activation. It's just like boom. And
Well,
you had mentioned, like, where are we? So
yeah,
collectively, I
yeah,
feel the feminine wound is still very strong.
yeah.
Todd, if I'm honest, I see it around, and I feel that women, there's beautiful, powerful women here, but there's a really deep anchored wounds there that is still haven't been addressed. And you tend to see it, or I tend to see it a lot with people who've been on this path a very long time, and
Hmm.
they're quite used to being the one that people come to for explanations.
Hmm.
And now it's almost at a point where they're not using their fellow people to be that mirror for them anymore.
Yeah.
know, and that's where you start to see now. That's where you start to see the fears starting to rise, and that's when you start to see the projection starting to rise. So I do see that around, but I do feel like the sisterhood wound, collectively, it's right there now where it's coming up to be seen, and it's coming up to be felt. And with that rise of people, like, starting to really sit with themselves and really have love for themselves as they let themselves heal and allow themselves to heal and transform. The men are rising too, and then they're coming in. And it was a year ago, I was sitting on the beach, and I heard my guide just say, you need to create a space for men and women to come. And I thought, yeah, that's great, fantastic, but I'm not there yet, and I knew I wasn't. And just 2 days ago, I just launched a new, like, little community, and it's very small. Like, I'm starting from scratch, and it's exactly who needs to be there at the moment. But I opened it for men and women. No men, the men didn't come yet.
Hmm.
It's women. But I feel that that was the way it was meant to be. It was almost
Yeah.
meant to be like the women are coming in, and they're warming up the container,
Yeah.
and then as that's solid, then it's just going to expand outwards like that. And but they're welcome. I already see it in the field, and I
Right.
see that they're coming in. I know that they will be there, and I just want to, like, provide a space for people like you where they can come and be normal and feel seen and feel heard, and like everything is okay, and that we can use each other to grow, and to see ourselves in the other, because
Right.
that for me is what it's all about. It's finding.
That's a great point. I mean, and I think it's um, it's not even arguable. It's unarguable that, look, women, it's women's intuition. It's not
Yeah.
men's intuition. So this is not something that's new. So it
Mm.
only makes sense that as we start to shift, and we all know that the feminine energy, the mother energy, has been suppressed in all of us,
Yeah. Oh.
that the physical representation, which is going to be primarily women. I mean, if I look at Soulogy, it was started March 10th, 2012.
Okay.
There was
Wow.
about, yeah, there was about the group itself. Okay. There was about 90, I remember there was like 91, 92% women. Now
Yeah.
today it's probably 68. And it's,
Amazing.
yeah, so you can see it happening.
Mm.
So it makes a lot of sense that the feminine leads, and I can, in my own knowing, in my own truth, in my relationship with Morgan, in watching the energies of Soulogy and just life itself, that looks like the pattern that is, and it only makes sense because we've gone into an inverse. It was always men, men,
Yes.
men with this false
Yeah.
power, and I really kind of, I kind of cringe to say it that way, but it's really the patriarchal, and we've all been imprinted by the patriarchal. The men had a certain uh, consequence of that, and the women in general had a consequence of that. There was always exceptions, but
Mhm.
it only makes sense. And I remember so clearly in 2015, having been in the communities, with a laptop, after I came off the streets and I got a laptop, so like 2 years, 2.5 years, and I remember that late 2015, and all you saw was the divine feminine has landed. She's here. And then there was
Yeah.
this whole evolution that went from, a little bit too much to a little humility, that expansion, contraction. And it worked
Yeah.
both ways,
Yeah.
and so I feel like that really is the pattern that will lead us until there is a new equilibrium. and
Yes.
and it's going to be, they take the higher ground and show the way, and like you said, kind of warm it up, and
Yep.
then yeah, and it's happening, because I think since like October, which has been like crazy, right? Since October, things just went like nuts, like a roller coaster. But
It's
one of the things
October.
right, since October.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
one of the things I noticed was in October, and it was in the last week, these men started showing up. And it was just, it's always a coincidence, right? Oh, that's a coincidence. No, it wasn't.
No, no.
These men showed up, and I remember there was like 3 or 4 of them came on the show, that somehow or another they landed on the show. It was like through an email. I've been watching you for a long time, and it's time for me to come out. I'm like, that's what I hear from the women, right? This is what Soulogy's, the crest of Soulogy's wave has been, these women stepping up that have been in the background. And so they had the same frequency. I thought, wow, that's interesting. And then as time's gone on since then, I've noticed that more and more are popping their heads out. So I think that's a really good
Yeah.
sign. I really do.
Yeah, they absolutely are, and it's so welcome, because we, of course, we do. We need to bring that balance in, but I think a lot of men are also intimidated by women's circles. I've
Mm-hmm.
had some men come to me and just say, you know what, Emer, we've nowhere to go. Like, we don't know where to go to,
Right,
because like
right.
I've done the women's circle thing, and it's all okay if I nod along and kind of agree with them, but if I have a different standpoint, I get the daggers thrown at me, because you know that you know that patriarchy, that, like, inner masculine hasn't been worked on a lot, not with all women, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of hatred towards men. And they don't realize that it's there. They don't see it yet, and that's okay. And they will,
Mhm.
because I mean, it's sooner or later they're going to see it.
Yeah,
But men feel that as well, and it's like, where can I go where I feel safe?
right.
Because the guys on the football pitch, they don't get me, and I go to, like, these spiritual, kind of groups, and it's a little bit kind of, it's not very grounded for me. And then I go to these women's circle, and they're all, welcoming, until I
Mhm.
have a different perspective, and then all of a sudden, like, the daggers come out. So
Mhm.
I feel for it, and I think this is why I really wanted to, as best I could, just provide a space
Yeah,
and just say,
I'm
you know what, you're
yeah.
welcome here.
Well, and I think here's the thing. The guy, you kind of like had several questions pop up. One of them is, so I've been around, traveled around and seen different ceremonies and stuff, and I'm not knocking anything, but I'm
Mm,
basically using this as an example. I'm a big believer in what you're saying because the typical female path is nothing like the typical male path, and
mm,
just as the you were saying that the females don't understand that there's a deeply embedded, I don't know if that's the right word, but we'll use the word hate.
yeah, yeah,
But it works both ways. That's my
yeah,
point. So
mhm,
in your what you were saying about the men feeling kind of left out, I remember going, and this has happened more than once. They would have these ceremonies. The women would have a circle, and then the men that showed up would make a circle around them.
mhm,
Now I understand the intent, but
mm,
to me, it's a really good metaphor because they're still outside the circle. At the end of the day, we're all souls, and we're all in this together. There are two different paths here, and if you really look at the masculine feminine thing, uh, this is the last line of polarity, right?
yeah,
I mean, this is the last integration, and maybe we don't get there in this life or whatever, because I do think it's really important that we own what we are.
yeah,
And Morgan and I obviously talk about this a lot, but I've always understood that. Look, if I'm totally good with my feminine, it's going to
mhm,
reflect that I'm totally good with my masculine. I can't be 100% of my masculine and have a distorted feminine and vice versa. So I think this is a really good benchmark and barometer for our own personal progress and that in the collective. But there's no doubt that because I remember 10 years ago, you know how you were talking about you get all this information, and I remember
mhm,
going, "What the hell do I do with it?"
yeah,
And they said to me, "Whatever you do, don't do anything that's been done before." Well, if you look at the basic pattern of our evolvement prior to waking up, it was men, 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 and then the women were subjugated. Uh, and so it only makes sense that we don't do that. I mean, it's hand the ball off to them. They've already done it anyway, and let's just accept this and have some faith in it because I don't think there's a set template. I don't know about you or anyone else, but I don't think this whole ascension thing came with an owner's manual
no,
and directions. I think we're
no.
making it up as we go, and this is how we build those new blueprints. It's by taking an initiative and having our intentions of the heart in alignment as much as we can in that moment, knowing we're the perfect imperfection. And yeah, I think that
And I do feel this they're shifting, like those
mm,
blueprints,
mm,
they do shift. And I don't know if maybe you tapped into this as well, but just after Christmas, at the beginning of January, I'm a Capricorn, so 15th of January around was my birthday. I went down, boom, into this slump. And I don't know about you, but when I'm having these kind of expansion, I get almost pulled offline, and I just go. It's like
yeah,
I lose track of everything. I don't feel my intuition is not really as good. I feel like just not myself.
mm,
And then as soon as I come on, then everything just like, whoa, it's like I just step into another version or another reality. And I really felt that around the 17th of January. And I just felt this positivity. I mean, we've been in Ireland and it's been, restrictions and stuff here. It's
mm,
been kind of fairly harsh within Europe, um, as a lot of places around the world. It's been tough, and this lightness just shifted, and I went, "Whoa, what is that?"
yeah,
And I'm like, this trajectory that we were kind of on, all of a sudden it just melted, and I went, "Something's shifted. Like we're okay now. This is
yeah,
okay." And then the announcements of they had taken away like passes and stuff like that, like happened within days of that. And that's how easy, like, I mean, you have this, this kind of all these multiple kind of realities that could go in one way, and that's what I kind of all see it. And then all
mm,
of a sudden it's like, oh, we're not there anymore, we're here. And it's
mm.
just, I don't feel that there's a blueprint is what I'm trying to get at.
I
I feel
agree.
that it's
Yeah,
literally how we are all merging and collectively how we're all allowing and surrendering. And
yeah,
ultimately I do really feel in my heart that we do a lot in this lifetime. I really do feel that we
absolutely.
we do a lot, but I don't think anything is set in stone at all.
No, no. I mean, that's how it worked to me. I mean, like we had the one cell, one soul. I
Mhm.
believe it. I believe if it has a gender, it was feminine, because it only makes sense. But it doesn't matter. So we're there as a collective being, and we say, "I wonder what would happen if," you
Mhm.
know. So that requires what? Faith. It's no different than you looking at your friend and it goes black and you're back in the abyss. There's always that unknown,
Yeah.
and I feel like that. Yeah, it's almost like you make it up as you go. So like I look at the journey of the soul, the human soul, and I say, okay, I came into this world with all of this. I am holy and whole, and maybe I've had my memory swiped and so on and so on. But everything that happens between birth and physical death is
Mhm.
the living library. It is the added what will be added to the akashic, and
Yeah.
so it only makes sense. And then of course with the paradox, you have this, oh, we're human and get me out of here. And I just want to finish my work and get back to my home planet. And like you were saying,
Yeah.
but because the way that the universe teaches, at least from my perspective, everything is opposite, in that crazy paradox that is actually a 0 point field. It's just
Yeah.
hard to comprehend from a human standpoint that
Mhm.
the human, at least right now, is on point in the universal because we are in that field of the widest range of polarities and the most free will. And this is
Yeah.
not just Todd's words. These are many, many people that have come on this show that are credible, saying things like there's billions of souls lined up to come here. The fact that our power to create and manifest when we alchemize the emotions is something that I don't think, from my understanding and my feeling, that these other aspects, uh, they don't have the emotional range. That's part of
No.
this realm, and so that's fodder for the alchemical process that is unique to the human. And I'm just the biggest cheerleader for the humans. I want to live
And
another
that's
seven,
it. And
800 years.
you really hit the nail on the head. That is it. I mean, in other places, you can be in this state of pure bliss, and
Mm,
you can feel this unity consciousness. You can feel this
mm,
oneness within you, this androgyny. You can feel all that. But it's only the planet Earth that you get to have the
mhm.
whole roller coaster ride and feel all of it and feel the whole polarity of it. But for me, the way I see it is, I mean, we get to experience that whole wider polarity just to bring it all back into center anyway.
Yeah,
But we have to go to that extreme, and I do feel that that's where we're at now. We really
yeah,
are at that like real that widest extreme, and it's almost like we have to break everything so that we can rebuild it, but rebuild it in a new way and
yeah,
rebuild it in a way that is a lot more sustainable and a lot more balanced and a lot more heart led and a lot more, um, you know, just understanding that we are just more than this physical body.
yeah,
Even though this physical body is hugely important, we are everything, and
yeah.
it's all within ourselves. As I said, it's all there, and we have the capacity. Like I remember getting messages years back. I couldn't hold them as a truth. So they would tell me things and I would go, yeah, I can't that I just can't hold that as being my truth right now because my consciousness wasn't able to hold it. And the things that I've seen that we are capable of doing and like the instant healing and just yeah, basically all these techniques that I see them doing. And I know on a cellular level, on a soul level, that we can do that and that we will do it. It's just a matter of catching up with it.
Yeah,
But now I can hold it. Now I can like actually go, yeah, actually like our potential every single day I'm going, whoa, and we can actually do this and we can do that and we will be able to do this. And it just brings it's a, like the inner child little feeling, like the giddiness of like, wow, that's where we're going to be going as humanity. It's going to be normal to be able to like, reboot ourselves and literally align to a perfect blueprint of health really quickly. That's
yeah,
going to be the norm. And we will get there. it's just energy down here is just so goddamn slow sometimes that it takes a while to catch up, but it's
uh,
there. It's in
well,
the
no,
field.
I think that's a really great point. And I really love talking to people that are really highly sensitive and really connected, who bring out the human in them. Who honor the human, who what you're saying. Two things. One, something's shown to you. Here you go. Here's the cosmic gift, and you're like, okay, that's great, but I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
I can't carry that ball right now.
Yeah.
And then the other thing with what you're saying, which I'm a real big believer in, is and you mentioned this earlier, and I saw this at
Mhm.
the end of 2019 on the show, which is just a microcosm of everything, which was kind of how that, and not to take anything away from anybody at all,
Mhm.
because we know things that serve us, that get us to a certain point, aren't necessarily going to be the vehicle that we use to go to the next, because everything
Absolutely.
changes.
Yeah,
But I
absolutely.
remember, like, the yogi guru teacher kind of frequency, wounded healer, I might use that term,
Yeah.
started
Yes.
to lose stature and get passed up by the collective, and it became more of a self empowerment kind of
Yes.
energy. But when I hear, or when I feel it's fixed, even from my own self talk, I have to remind myself it's easier now because I've been kicked in the butt and had to have the humility
You've got to
establish.
practice. You got to
Huh?
practice, and that's what it's all about. You get to
Exactly.
practice.
Well,
Yeah.
there's always an ing. I'm fixing myself. I
Yeah.
I don't believe that we're supposed to be in a perfect state. This is the whole gift of the journey, is to continue to expand from a conscious human level, which does take in the densest to the most light, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this is our access, our multidimensional access. But yeah, I think it's these things that you're talking about, like the again, back to the masculine and the feminine. uh,
Mhm.
it's not set in stone, but the value is in the initiative that we take and put our best foot forward,
Yeah.
and let's create one circle. uh, and not to say, hey, I'm androgynous and you're androgynous. No, not to say that, but to say we are going to do our best to create an equality, whether it be masculine, feminine, or be color, or be creed, or whatever it is, and really just put our best forward. Because to me, intentions are everything. That's
Absolutely.
everything.
Yeah.
Intentions are absolutely the end all. That's what the universe reacts to. It's what was your intention, not what does it look like, or what are you presenting. What is your intention? And this, I call it the brutal honesty of the soul. Is it
Yeah.
only going to come from me, with
Yeah.
the triggers, the coding offered, the presentation of energy from my mirrors and any experience that I have in life. Um, it's a beautiful
Totally
thing.
with you.
The human journey is, I think, gaining in stature every day, at least from a powerful small minority that is the real virus. Because I think you said this at the beginning of the show, how this is expanding so rapidly.
Yeah. And the last 6 months have taught me so much as well because, it's so easy to get pulled, left and right. And it's so easy to get pulled into what's happening.
Hmm.
Um, and I have this thing that I live by again with Mary Magdalene has always, well, they both say it, Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary. If I'm getting caught or I'm a little bit confused, I'm not quite sure which way to go. I'm not sure if it's my heart or my head, because I will have those confusions sometimes.
Of
If I
course.
don't have clarity, right? If I don't have clarity, they will say to me, do you choose love or do you choose fear?
Right.
And of course, I'll say, I'll choose love. And they say, well, how will that look like in this moment? So let's be practical about it.
Right.
Practical about it. Like, what is choosing love in this moment in the simple thing that you're doing? It might be something even simple like, what do I do? Do I go with my daughter for a walk, or do I stay here and like finish
Hmm.
my work, whatever I have to do? These are the basic things, but this is what being human is. And it's about how many of those moments can you choose on a daily basis and ask yourself, if I make this decision, am I doing this decision out of fear or am I doing it out of love?
Right.
And if I'm doing it out of love, well, how does that look now in this moment? And it's so simple,
See,
but
and
it,
yeah, and those human-esque, machinations, the mundane human, right? I like that because even like what's presented to me, am I reacting? No judgment, just
Mhm.
learning, but am I
Yeah,
reacting out of love or fear? And if I'm not, and when you're acting, when you're reacting or acting out of love, you really, really do,
you
because
do, yeah.
you can feel it right down to the atomic, right? I mean, and if I'm not, then if I'm getting triggered, or whatever the case is, uh, and Morgan says this a lot. We have the contraction and expansion that, let's just be frank about this,
Yeah.
right? Let's all understand that any connection, in this incredible journey, this prolific journey of the human soul, the human species, there is that, right? And that's a natural rhythm of the universe, but that we always return to love.
Yes.
Like when, instead of, sometimes it gets so complex, and I'm not just talking about relationships, I'm talking about life. And
I'm
you just
totally,
go into,
totally with
you know what I
you.
mean, and you go into
Yeah.
that space, and you just bank yourself in that love. 3 nights ago, I hit the bed, and I was like, in that space there was just all this stuff going on, which
Mhm.
doesn't happen to me a lot. But you know how, back in the day, you go to bed and you're like, the bills, the kids, the
Yeah.
da da da, and you can't even sleep. And
Mhm.
I did something that I don't do very often, but because I really look at everything being internal. But I did. I said, Mother Mary, you were the first one in the door at 2, 3 years old, and I'm just gonna put my heart out to you. Thank you, help me, help me, help me. And the next day, boom. I think that was yesterday. The next day, everything in my life, in that moment, throughout the day, it just was like, it was just sweet. And I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
wow, that's all it takes. Just like you said, turn it off, turn it on,
Mhm.
help me, show
Yeah.
me. We always get it, and we do really literally program ourselves, and
Yeah.
and that's the bottom line.
But we're getting pulled into, like, I think that's where I was going with this in the last 6 months. We're getting pulled into all the worst case scenarios, and
Yeah.
this could happen and that could happen and everything. And I've learned, oh my gosh, um, my worst case scenario like it didn't come true. You
Right.
know what I mean? And it was actually my husband, who is like, an engineer, very anchored, very grounded,
Right.
totally, polar opposite to me. He just, we were both mirroring each other's fears,
Right.
and we sat down afterwards, and he just said, how much time, Emer, have you given to those fears? How much time have you given to it? And like energy have you given to it? And it was, for me, it was like, absolutely, it was a lot of distraction. And for me now, it's not that you're, sticking your head in the sand, but moving forward, I've learned from that round. And the next wave that comes along, I will do like they always show me. That, like, I always see this kind of like walking through fire, like this path opening, and you're there, but you're not getting burned because you're just in the center and you're heart open, observing all of it.
Hmm.
But you're staying true in this core, that you're not allowing yourself to get pulled into the fear.
Yeah.
Because they, again, like 6 months ago, they were saying, how much do you trust? And I'm like, I trust. And they were like, you're going to be okay. Your kids are going to be okay. Everything's fine. But
Hmm.
again, I couldn't hold that attitude because I had too many, like, there were old fears that were in my system that I needed to work through, and I needed
Hmm.
them to come up, so that they had to come up so I could work with them. So, there's, everything serves a purpose. That's why I don't beat myself up
Yeah.
anymore about it, because there's no wrong decisions or there's no wrong way of doing it, because
Yeah.
every single thing is helping you to understand on a different level, and
Yeah.
it's all practice.
Beyond the cliche. Beyond the cliche. I mean, like, this is the real shit right here. Excuse
Yeah,
me. This is the real
yeah,
shit right
yeah.
here. You asked me how, at the beginning of the show,
Mhm.
how is it being separated from Morgan, and I use this as an example. As what, like you said, fear, love, right, and
Mhm.
it could be any part of our lives, right? So what happened was she left. I went to Soulogy Fest, which was a huge, energetic. I mean, it was like
I remember. Yeah.
everything, and it was just amazing. I come back. I'm basically flat on my ass on the couch for 3 weeks.
Mm.
That was really the truth. And I'll be honest with you. I quit drinking the way I used to drink when I left Sedona. That was quite a rendezvous we had with the mother and father of Sedona. It was a beautiful experience and my own thing. But I came back. I laid on the couch. I had a little bit of pot. I smoked the hell out of it for like 3 weeks, and I knew it was all coming to an end.
Yeah.
But because there was all these downloads coming in, I'd moved to juicing. I was noticing my addictions. I was noticing my habits of a second nature that I wasn't even paying attention to. But
Mm.
what started to happen for me was I started to go, I'm not going to go into judgment.
Yeah.
And I was having these constant things all day long of, I forgive myself. I forgive
Yeah.
myself. And it's these little things that worked. Something worked for me then. And I know it can't just be me. Now, I'm going to speed up to
Mhm.
January and what you said. You said you kind of came out and you went, wow, everything's different.
Yeah.
At the same time, you're having these moments of reflection and experience, such as you described with your husband, where
Mhm.
you're seeing the polarities, something's being pointed out to you one way or the other, and it's not that easy, right? So there's been this pattern since October where there's been these like black holes that we get sucked into, and you're like, shit, I thought that was over, and you have
Yeah,
this,
absolutely.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
You thought it
But
was
then
like,
there's
nope,
this,
that's not.
right? And then there's this clarity. It's almost like
Yes.
you said, the universe said, hey, do you
Come
trust this?
offline. Mm.
Yes, I do. Okay, you're ready for the next one. Boom, you're shot out of the cannon. So what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say is, this I've been picking up on since December, which is the waves are still coming. They're not quite as impactful as they were, in a sense, debilitating.
For
As
you.
yes,
For,
as
for
long.
you. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
they are. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've told them get me the hell out of here at least 10 times since October.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is, on the other side, it's just like an amazing experience, even if it only lasts for 3, 4, 5, 6 days, and then the next wave comes, right?
Yeah.
But I really feel like that the reality and the confidence and the belief and the trust and the faith and the love and the courage and the wisdom and the open-mindedness and everything that makes up the virtues of the soul is coming more and more and more into our field.
Yeah.
And I think it's long past time we give ourselves some credit. And and
But we
and
also, because you're in this process a while, so you're kind of getting used to the
yeah,
trust. You're surrounding more to the trust of, okay, it's almost like when you're in labor and you have the
yeah,
contractions coming. When you fight it, of course, it's going to be
yeah,
intense. When you just surrender to it and you know that it's going to come and then it's going to go and then it's going to
yeah,
come and then it's going to go. So
exactly.
maybe we're at that point where we're like, this is
Yeah,
cool. I know what happens. When this intensity comes, if I just surrender to I'm not going to resist it. It's going to work through me quicker. And then I'm going
mhm,
to come out the other side. And there's always this beautiful expansion on the other side. But I guess other people who are, in a different part of their process,
absolutely,
this is so scary for them,
absolutely.
because
No, yeah,
they've
don't
got
get
all
me
this.
wrong. Yeah,
Yeah,
don't get me
yeah. Oh
wrong.
no, I know. It's just,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
for
it's
anybody maybe who's here,
yeah,
that's kind of like, just
yeah. No, you're right.
you're
You're right
experiencing
about
this
that.
now.
You're absolutely
Yeah.
right about that. And again, the comparison thing. But you just gave me the best takeaway, because this has been building up for a while, I guess. But I really saw this in the last 2 3 days through my own experience. It's not my genius. It's not that at all. It's through these conversations, through interactions with other people, and so on. You're describing it perfectly. I said on the show a couple of times in the last week, I was witness to 5 births.
Mhm.
Now, two of the births were natural, so I would
Yeah.
just go to those 2 births. I have never birthed a child, but I saw what was happening to the mother of my child.
Yeah.
I saw that contraction and
Yeah.
expansion, the resistance, and you know what I mean, all of that
Mhm.
stuff, and that is exactly how I would describe, the whole thing, but certainly October, November, December, January, and February. It's literally like that. It's a contraction and
Yeah.
then it's this relationship that you have with your own body. This is the I am soul. I'm in
Yes.
the
Yeah.
physical, which is very unique to be, because we're always in dimension. This is it. But this relationship, this expanding relationship and understanding and evolvement of the body, the spirit, all one, getting into that rhythm, right?
Yeah.
And having that I don't want to say balance, but having that reverence and understanding what the contraction is, what the expansion is, because it's both.
And it's the natural flow of the death and rebirth, and that
Yeah.
we've always had. And like, because we've become so disconnected from the land as well, and so
Mhm.
disconnected from, all around us. I mean, these are things like, that our ancestors would work with. They understood, they honored it, and they recognized the land in us, the elements in us. And this
Yes.
is, I think, something that is, that we're starting to remember and starting to connect with again, that we're not separate from the water, and it's for me, like my office sometimes, Todd, if I'm totally honest, might be the bath for 4 hours. Like I literally go
Yeah.
into that. I just need to get into the water. My husband has a completely different perspective of what he thinks I'm doing for work, but
That
this
is
work for
work.
me.
That is work.
Honestly, that is work. I'm there.
Mhm.
I'm in the water. I'm getting all of this, these downloads. I'm getting all of this clarity. I'm sitting in there. I'm sending, I'm sending my intentions out into the field. I'm picking up
Yeah.
on what's going on, and I'm just doing this weaving. But when I'm in the water, because I'm kind of like, it's not separate from me. I am the water, just as I am the inspiration, the air that comes
Yeah.
in, and the fire that creates, and this
Yes.
kundalini energy that is there, and it's learning the dance of all of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. That's a great point, you know, because I never really understood, like Morgan is a Pisces.
Mhm.
You put Morgan in
Oh, wow.
water, and you can
Mhm.
relate. I can't see. I can't relate. And I love water. Don't get me wrong. And I have
Mhm.
memories of being, a water being and all that stuff, right? But
Mhm.
to watch somebody get into the water and they just expand or something happens, and you can relate to this. For
This is
me,
me. Yeah.
see, for me, it's the fire, right?
Yeah.
And that can be misunderstood. I
Mhm.
mean, I can get like, like the fervor of a evangelist, or I mean, I've toned down and so on, but I get that. And so, like when you're talking about your husband, like I can pick up, you're like, he doesn't really get it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the beauty. These relationships are the beauty. And in fact, if he ever wants to come on with you, that'd be a great show. But like, that's the beauty. It's like I said, I heard this a long time ago. I read this in a book I used to read all the time, and it was a book about America, and back in the '90s by Thomas Cahill, and he said our because they said, or I guess the context was, America this and America that. What's the final analysis? It was like our greatest weakness, the diversity, is our greatest strength. So you could easily say our greatest weakness is our polarity and our duality, but it's also our greatest strength. And
Mhm.
that's to me, that says it all. Because
Yeah.
it's not picking one or the other. It's saying they both exist, they're one and the same, they feel different. How do we get there? And I think you only get there through initiative and doing the best you can. That's why there are people that come on this show, and I've gotten better and better and better because I realize it's an opportunity that I just spoke of, that I can hold the space and I can do everything I can to align, as opposed to judging and
Mhm.
going, oh, I want to get out of here. So I guess in a sense, I don't resonate as easily with some as others.
Okay.
But the fact is, it's the same opportunity, right? And I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many times I've told Morgan, man, I can't believe that person's coming on. I don't feel good about this. Or, wow, they're coming on. This is going to be great. You know what happens? The opposite. The person
Okay.
will come on that I didn't want to, that I wasn't aligned with. And guess what? It's a spectacular show like this. Or the person will come on that I've been on with before and everything's cool and it turns into a disaster. But it's all me,
Yeah.
right?
It's
You
letting go of
know?
the expectations, isn't it? And
Yeah.
just Just
Yeah.
let it all go,
Yeah.
you know.
Wow.
Well,
It's been
but
an incredible 90 minutes.
oh my gosh,
I know.
I haven't even been like,
Oh, you didn't see all the comments?
no, I'm just looking at you.
Oh,
No, I
really?
haven't seen anything.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So, I just do everything spontaneously and through intuition and such. It's just rules don't work and all that stuff. But is there anything that you want to do before we get out of here? Like, I don't know, or if you just want to
Sure.
sign off. But I mean, I don't. I just out of respect, if you wanted to do anything, it's up to you. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not attached.
Sure. Well, let's just see what wants to come in. If they feel aligned to and they're
Mm,
open to just closing their eyes and receive.
mm-hmm.
Um, for those, I know most people here are very used to light language and toning and singing and everything that comes in, soul language. So they're fine, but just on the off chance somebody hasn't experienced it before, just be open to receive. Just let the head just turn off and just open the heart and just know that anything that's coming through is from the highest frequency. Love to all of you. And yeah, if it sounds a bit strange, that's okay too. Okay. So I'm just going to send, it's just connecting in with everybody heart to heart. Shnigaram Tarkinana Maniala Yardore Yama, Sarikara Ar Ushna, Salarat Anamani Ikuratuler Tanamiana Aka, Salaratolara Eliheta Kariashta Kurutulira Beriatana, Siminama Itu Kuyanama Iala, Shnali Ila Uruto, Nikani Turala Hashnakinamua, Suhayana Ikara Ur Ashna Halikana Suratanamani Tikanayana, Suniku Ishnihana, Kawikana Ar Atana, Sugununu Malara Tanamirshna Bani Itana Shnikit in Maa. Shnamiyana Eliatana Misana Ikana away. Awahakayela Urtala Asa. Nama Ikana. Shnamara Utalaya Asahayeta Kaitu. Nama Ina. Lara Ashna Akini. Sana Awe Ikala Ar Uhala. Sana Ikana Ashna Kurutala Akini Iwehe. Suhayana. Saritu Huwa Hasanama Ana. Sa Ama Akini Italara Tuhala Etanami Ikana. Sushin Ikanitin Murutalaya Ana. Su Kuko Inama Awa A. Su Kiniola Aratashna Itu Gorilla Aratarini Mahawi Ita. Nama I. Snami to kono nanalieta nama. Sina I to ishnamraya la harutu yera aku koneme anea. Sawa a. Kina u a kakoruta lara yash. Niana isa leerta ikaria sanamawiya namawait lara tuleria taliera tatash nasnain moe akawaila retaliet ayakinimia Suha aliyatashna maik. Kuana'a. Suara tolea nama itakana. Ama asala'i anama'a. Tiakaye mai tai. Heart to heart, soul to soul. One love. Mahi kair tolea yatashna. Let go of illusions. Shnir tu yanamin. Tayi tore talarata. Nama. Be open to receive. Nikinayata kiritalayat. Yashnikara anama. Your true essence, your pure essence is one, is love. Kira tuli yara tanamana I takarushna I. Nama ika namaka. And so it is. Tikana inami. Shikaratare. Nayaratare Maria Alaharatami, Taria, Maria Rajan Maria Rajan Maria Rajan Maria and Screen Turia Tamani to Kuta the Boya. Sario Rosmanica Rojan Maria to Pariush Maria. Secretary to Maria Rodi Netikana. Sharatagiliber Maria Yatakanui. Hama ila Arotuyana. And just taking a nice deep breath in. And just honoring and feeling any movement in your body. And just let everything be okay. Tishniyatani namai. No right, no wrong. And so it is, Todd.
And so it is. Muchas gracias.
Muchas de nada. That's
you don't have an Irish accent to me. You have a little one, but you don't have a.
Oh no, I'm born. I was born here. My husband is Spanish. That's where the Quintero comes from. Yeah,
You speak probably more Spanish than I do. Is he from Spain? Is he from
he's
Spain?
From Spain. Yeah,
Oh,
he's
wow.
from Seville.
Oh wow, very cool, very cool. Let me just say real quick before I conclude with our beautiful sister. I just want to thank everybody for your continued love and support and contributions. It allows us to keep doing this every day. It's an amazing miracle, day after day, that we're able to do this, and that's the truth. Because I've said this before, and I'll say it again. In the 5D, we don't have savings accounts. You just have what you need when you need it, and it's an adjustment for that. But we've been able to navigate that at Soulogy because of the consistency of I think of the intentions of the vortex that we all create together. It doesn't matter who's on the camera. It doesn't matter who's behind the frequency of these shows, with Morgan and other people that contribute. But I just want to say thanks. While we have this space of non-judgment and unity, and also we've been getting suppressed a lot. We don't ask people to share. It's not our thing. But yeah, when you see us coming on, if you could share to one page, at least until we get out of this and we move into the next phase and we transform the energy, then we would appreciate it. Thank you so much. I want to just say all blessings to you and your husband, and you're both welcome to come on anytime you want so we can examine the polarities, and also all blessings to your children and all your endeavors. And I look forward to collaborating with you at all or by yourself in 2022 later in the year.
Thanks, Todd.
It's been
so lovely talking to you, and yeah, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was.
Take care. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Yeah, right on. And I think we're officially done for the day, but I have a feeling I'm going to come back on with something later on today.
Cool.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I look forward to it. I really enjoyed it.